Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Panther Airsoft Holding Table Talk. This is episode 88. Today's date is June 3rd, and today we will be talking about Bill C-21. It is back. Worse than ever.
Bigger than
What?
ever, baby.
What?
Bigger
What?
than ever.
Bigger
What
than
do you mean?
ever.
What do you mean it's back?
C-21-2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
joining us is
2.5.
Dayton, which is, we're all going to be heavily affected by this bill. So we're going to try and keep our personal opinions to a minimum right now because we will go through an educational and informational piece. Going through the history, we're going to break down the current and as well as the proposed law and the current status, the impact. I'm sure, Dayton, you're going to feel that impact once it goes through royal assent. What you should do, contacting your members of parliament, and why is letter writing so important.
Mhm.
So let's get straight into it. So Bill C-21, reintroduced by our public minister, the Honorable Marco Mendicino. Is
Yeah,
that how
that
you
guy.
pronounce his name?
I would
Sure.
just
I
stick
just
to
call
the
him
first name,
Marco.
man.
I just call him Marco.
Good old Marco.
Yeah, so it was introduced as of May 30th. Bill Blair introduced the previous C-21 back in February 16th of 2021. So he was our guy to try and reach. Now Marco is the guy that we're going to try and reach to see if we could, figure out what's going on here. The goal again is to curb gun violence in Canada. This time they specifically included air guns because they now know where we sit in the gray area, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So they did mention it in their press conference when I was listening to it, and my heart dropped right away when I
Yeah.
knew right away that when they were mentioning air guns and airsoft and replica guns that we were in the sight lines. Yeah, like I said, this segment is gonna, we're gonna break down some of the things that you need to know so that you're well armed and well prepared for the, for the onslaught of information that people are gonna ask you when you're an airsofter. A little bit of history here. We'll go through it. So February 16th, 2021 is when they introduced Bill C-21 version 1.
Mm-hmm.
At August 16th, 2021, Justin Trudeau requested the Governor General to dissolve the Parliament and cause a snap elections. Bill C-21, therefore, is tabled. So that means that it doesn't continue on. It did reach second reading from its history, but from there it basically died out because the election was called in. September 20th, September 20th, 2021, Liberal Party wins 157 seats, effectively winning a minority government. So in Canada, you need about 170 seats to become a majority government. And the biggest shocker came, and we saw this in ASIC, is April 15th, 2022, Liberal and NDP form a coalition government so that they can pass laws that they both agree on easily.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, us in ASIC, we knew right away that we were in trouble because looking at it, we're like, oh no, like if they get 170 votes, that's a majority right there.
Yeah.
And then, worst comes to worst, just a couple of days ago, May 30th, 2022, Bill C-21 2.0 reintroduced to the House of Commons with minor changes. Not major, minor, like very small changes, but more to firearms owners. But there was no amendments to air guns, airsoft, or anything in general. Everything remained the same for us, unfortunately. So, that is the little bit of a history portion here. Now let's go through some of the breakdowns of the current law and the proposed law. So let me provide you guys a PowerPoint slide. Now, for my mods out there, can you please share this with everybody? I will go ahead and the PowerPoint here. I love PowerPoint. And I will share it with you guys. I can't see. I am. Technical difficulties. All right, here we go. And screen share. There you go. Can you guys see it now?
Yes. Affirmative.
Yes. Affirmative. All right. Can our audience see the PowerPoint slides? Moderators, can you do a good job of sharing that? Thank you. All right. So
Luca's here. What's up, Luca? Nice kit, buddy.
All right, perfect. So we're going to go through the first slide here. You guys have to manually hit the next slide So current laws right now. So we hit slide 2. So in the criminal code of C-46 Section 2, firearms. The definition of firearms means a barreled weapon from which any shot, bullet, or other projectile can be discharged and that is capable of causing serious bodily injury or death to a person and includes any frame or receiver of such a barreled weapon and anything that can be adapted for use as a firearm. So we all know what a firearm is. That's the definition that the Canadian Criminal Code defines it as. Next up is replica firearms. So we all know that replica firearms is prohibited. So it says right there at the very bottom, prohibited means replica firearms.
I don't see.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? I love
Can't see it,
replica
it's not
Okay,
real.
firearms.
well, the dumb part
No,
that
real.
is
No.
is that it's been like this for a while.
This is the
right?
current
Like,
law.
yeah.
This is the current
Yeah,
law. So
yeah.
replica
This has
firearm-
been like this for a long time.
Yeah.
means any device that is designated or intended to exactly resemble with near precision a firearm that itself is not a firearm, but does not include any such device that is designed or intended to exactly resemble or to resemble with near precision an antique firearm. So there is a loophole there with antique stuff, but we don't mess with that. So there it is. Prohibited device means a replica firearm. So that is the current law right now. All right. People complain that they can't see the slides. There you go. If you guys,
Yeah, no, yeah, because that
thank
was
you.
it.
all right. Next up
Message history is still needed.
is this is Criminal Code C-46 Section 84. This is basically saying that certain weapons may not be deemed firearms under the Firearm Act, does not require a firearms license or owning, and is regulated any barreled weapon that is not designed to adapt or discharge that exceeds 7 or 5.7 joules. So this is basically the huge sort of like, this is where we get put in a gray area, right? So
Right.
we're not shooting over that 5.7 joules, which is basically considered a firearm. I think that is 500 FPS at that point, and does not require a license to own. It is unregulated. And
Wait, what? But sorry, what? Boy, 500 FPS?
is that what it is?
No,
5.7 joules?
500
No,
FPS makes it a firearm. Makes it illegally
it.
defined.
yeah,
firearm.
yeah, makes it. Yeah,
Exceeds.
but
Yeah.
152.4 meters per second is basically 500 FPS.
Okay.
yeah,
There you go. All right. So this is you'll see this on the C-21 changes. It's going to look different when we see it, but this is currently what it is now. For the purpose of section 91, 95, 99, 101, 103, 107, 117.03, these are basically like 99 to 100 traffic offenses, 101 transfer without authority, exporting, importing, 103, 104, offenses relating to loss, destroy, or defacing weapons, 105, 106, and 107 falsifying statements of 105, 106, and 117.03 seizure on failure to produce a authorization, so meaning a license. So it is the following weapons are deemed not to be firearms. Any other barreled weapon where it is proven that the weapon is not designed or adapted to discharge, a shot, bullet, or projectile at a muzzle velocity exceeding 152.4 meters per second, or a muzzle energy exceeding 5.7 joules.
Yeah.
Or a shot, bullet, projectile designed adapted to attain a velocity exceeding 152.4 meters per second, or an energy exceeding 5.7 joules. So if we're below that, we're basically in that what we call that gray area.
Yeah, and sorry to interject there, Poi, but I would just like to point out, because just so that people understand this, is that right now with the ammunition that we do use, we actually do not exceed 5.7 joules, even if you shoot at 152.4 meters a second. Actually, if you use, let's say, 0.45s and whatnot, you're going to be shooting around 5 joules at 500 FPS, but you're not going to be allowed to shoot at 500 FPS at most fields. So therefore, we totally play within these gray area rules. Yeah. Just so that people are clear.
Yeah, I believe that we made ourselves clear from the first C-21 where they knew that we were sitting in that area. I think that's why they targeted us more, but that's my personal opinion. I will continue on here. Next up is
No opinions, Poi. Come on.
Yeah. Stick to the PowerPoint. Stick to the PowerPoint.
Sorry. I'm sticking to the words here. All right. So this is the CBSA Importing and Exporting Firearms, Weapons, Devices Memorandum D1913-2. Replica firearms. All right. So in here under Section B, airsoft guns and certain types of paintball guns or markers may qualify as a replica firearm if the muzzle velocity of the projectile does not cause serious bodily harm and other external features clearly designed to resemble specific, readily identifiable make model of a firearm. To be considered a firearm within the means of Section 2 of the Criminal Code, airsoft gun fires a 0.2 gram 6mm plastic pellet must have a muzzle velocity in excess of 111.6 meters per second, 366 feet per second. So this is where we get that 366 feet per second minimum. This is the CBSA guideline.
Yeah,
Law,
for
but
importing.
it's a guideline for importing.
Not once you own it in Canada.
Once
This
you
is
have it in
just
Canada,
importing.
yeah, this is just for importing. So they're gonna try and close. They're basically closing this loophole with C-21. All right, let's move on to RCMP, firearms, class of firearms, specific types of firearms. A replica firearm. A replica firearm is a device that is not a real firearm. Thanks, RCMP. But one that was designed to look exactly or almost exactly like a firearm. Replica firearms are prohibited devices in Canada. Prohibited devices. Okay, cool. Airsoft guns. They mention it here. Airsoft guns are devices that have low muzzle velocity and muzzle energy, usually discharges projectile made out of substance such as plastic or wax. Have we ever had wax? I don't know.
What? Wax?
Cool. All right.
I mean, maybe?
An airsoft gun fires a 0.2 gram 6mm plastic pellet. They call it pellet. They're calling it the proper name. With a muzzle velocity below 111.6 meters per second, 366, and resembling with near precision an existing make and model of a firearm. Other than an antique firearm, it is a replica firearm and therefore a prohibited device. So anything lower than that is called a prohibited device, unless it's a antique firearm. So there you go. There's the two sources of that 366 for importation purposes. RCMP mentions it as well, and that's where we're at with our current law. So overview: airsoft guns are legally a firearm in the criminal code. It must shoot over 366 FPS so that it won't be considered a replica. Replicas are basically exact, near precision of a firearm that is currently out there that is either prohibited or regulated, and that's considered a replica if it's not shooting or if it doesn't have any muzzle velocity. Right? But it must shoot lower than 500 FPS or 5.7 joules so that it would be considered like an airsoft gun. Anything over, you're considered a firearm and you need a license for it. So there is our gray area. Easy enough to follow, I hope.
I think so. Yeah,
okay, so that is the current law. Drum roll, please.
All right. What?
Bill C-21 reintroduced May 30th, 2022.
But you just reintroduced. Okay.
21.12.
Yes.
21.122.
Actually, to be honest, guys, I actually didn't make any changes to this slide. This was the same slide from last year. That's how much. Yes.
There were no
There was no changes. So Bill C-21 proposed changes. The bill ensures mid-velocity replicas firearms are prohibited. So that means that covers that 366 all the way up to that 500 or 5.7 joules. Updating the criminal code to ensure that any devices, including any unregulated air guns that look exactly like conventional regulated firearms, shoots over 500 FPS per second, or shooting over 500 or below. Sorry, I should have said below. Is prohibited for the purpose of importing, exporting, sale, and transfer.
Also, to clarify, it says prohibited, not restricted.
Yep.
Prohibited.
Like they went straight to
like
the
right away.
Ah!
Right? There was no
Straight
chance
to
for
bonk.
amnesty or some kind of working around.
Straight to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Like
Straight
right
to
to
jail.
jail.
So
Yeah.
here's
Overcooked chicken.
Here's the catchphrase to it. Current owners may keep their replicas but cannot transfer them to anyone else because remember, it is prohibited for the purpose of importing, exporting, sale, and transfer.
Mm.
So
Right.
they're saying in the press conference that airsoft is not being banned, but the definition of the rule is basically squeezing us out from it. So there's no more importing of realistic or, ones that replicate, ones that are already regulated or restricted.
What 98% of the guns are that people own at the
Yes.
airsoft fields.
No further
Honestly,
replicas.
I would even say it's like 99, man.
Yeah.
Like there's like what? Like one or two like niche, super niche guns
Well,
out there.
I think what is do we know the age range for what was the wording?
Antique.
Antique firearm?
It's like 1876 or something.
It doesn't have to be that old, because like
something
so we're
like
doing
that.
ramrods.
like would
and,
World
and
War
balls,
II guns be
boys.
considered old enough? Like, would we still be able to play airsoft? It would just have to be
That-
1942
that is-
all the
is
time?
18
That is one of those questions.
1897. So
That is-
1812.
I'm-
boys. I
I'm-
wanna
that is
see
one
it.
of those
Best
questions that we have to
1812
ask them as
impressions.
well.
I'm
That
just
is
saying,
one
I
of
was
those
off
questions.
by a little bit, okay? I was
Pre-World
just
War
off by a
I.
little bit there, yeah.
So that is one of the questions that we have to ask, or like our many questions that we have to ask to the government. But let's move on here. Further replicas. No further replica firearms could be imported into or sold or transferred in Canada. So that means that airsoft stores can no longer import them, can no longer sell them, can no longer transfer them in Canada. This amendment does not affect other types of air guns that do not exactly replicate a conventional regulated firearm. So, are we doing Nerf now?
Excuse me, sir. Is that a pistol grip? That looks like a firearm.
That looks like it was made after 1897.
Sir, is
So-
that
It's
That's
flintlocks
replicating-
or bust, boys.
sir?
Alright.
Is that a laser tag
It's gonna
gun
be a
that
lot more
shoots
knife
over
fights.
500?
If I want to
per
put
second?
an IR freaking illuminator and freaking laser on my freaking bolt action or freaking whatever, I'll do it.
That's
guess
gonna look
so.
that's gonna look weird having a blunderbuss or a musket with like conventional lasers and like EOTechs.
And are muskets
It's all-
going to be allowed to be semi-auto, or is
It's
it
all
actually
fun
going to
and
be?
games until I come out with my nods.
It'll be just like South Park. The sniper and the musket will have full auto.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so let's move on here to what they're planning on changing. Here we go. So the very definition of replica firearms has been changed. So this is 1.1.11 definition of replica firearms in subsection 84.1 in the criminal code is replaced by the following.
So this is like the thing that's being prohibited. This is the definition of what it is.
Yeah. So replica firearms means that a device that is designed or intended to exactly resemble with near precision a firearm that is designed or adapted to discharge a shot, bullet, or projectile at muzzle velocities exceeding 152.4 meters per second and a muzzle velocity energy exceeding 5.7 joules. That it itself not a firearm, but does not include such device that is designed and intended to exactly resemble with near precision an antique firearm. There you go, boys. They closed
That's
the
it.
loop. They closed the loop right there.
They removed basically what they're doing in short is they removed the FPS and the joule measurement from the airsoft gun to the real gun.
Yeah.
So now if it looks like a real gun that shoots more than 500 FPS, so every real gun,
Every real gun, yeah.
then that airsoft gun is banned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, just to add, a little bit to it, they replace the Section 284 of the Act is amended by adding the following in subsection 3.1: certain firearms deemed to be prohibited devices. So in teal here, I've sort of just made it easy for everybody to read. We're gonna read through the teal in the next slide, but for purpose of section 99, 101, 103, 107, 11.03, a firearm is deemed to be a prohibited device if, here we go. If
Mm.
it is proved that the firearm is not designed or adapted to discharge a shot, bullet, or projectile at a muzzle velocity exceeding 152.4 meters per second or at a muzzle energy exceeding 5.7 joules. Okay, here's the good part. I put it in red. And the firearm is designed or intended to exactly resemble or to resemble with near precision a firearm other than an antique firearm that is designed or adapted to discharge a shot, bullet, or projectile at a muzzle velocity exceeding 1.52.4 meters per second and a muzzle energy exceeding 5.7 joules. Basically means in the teal portion, that means that your device is deemed prohibited, and now anything like traffic offenses, transfer without authorized authority, importing offenses, offenses relating to lost, destroyed, or defaced weapons, falsified statements regarding 105 and 106, and seizure or failure to produce authorization, meaning that you need a license to hold a prohibited device.
That good old loophole of, hey
But-
guys, it's prohibited, and you need a
But,
prohibited license, but we don't
we're-
give you prohibited license.
There's
Yeah.
no such thing as prohibited license devices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently
yeah.
there is, by Bill Blair's opinion, and apparently the government gives it out.
Really?
Well, from what I've heard, basically when I was talking to people, what I was told was I can get one. I just have to apply for it, and then if I get it, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the only way I'd be able to do it is if I applied as like a media company and treated it the same way as they do for purchasing weapons for movie shoots. So I could, given hundreds of thousands of dollars, get a license like that. But then also, who would I play against in Airsoft?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay, I can have an airsoft gun. Now what?
So that
sucks.
is the breakdown of current laws and proposed laws. So the current status is it's not law. C-21 is not law. We're making sure that it's not going to be law because we have people power here, and we're informing you guys. So not law right now. It is currently at first reading. So we're back at square one, first reading. And like I said, with the coalition, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill challenge when it comes to having it voted into the second reading. And then
That being
afterwards,
said, the NDP was kind of reserved in their initial support in it, so that's a little bit of hope.
so we got that hope there. All right, so let's talk about impact now. This is going to be an impact for all of us here because we all play Airsoft. An impact for us media types because we talk about Airsoft and advertise it, and as well as this is basically what we do on a Thursday night.
The show would be very boring without an airsoft field.
Yes.
Yes.
And big one for Dayton because you have your own YouTube channel as well as
Yeah, it's just my job.
products. Yeah,
you know?
it is your job, essentially. So
Yeah.
if the bill comes into law, it would be devastating for airsoft businesses that are already in Canada. Retailers, individuals won't be allowed to import new airsoft guns. We will only be allowed to import airsoft guns that do not replicate real firearms. Gonna suck because there's not a lot of them. And all our current airsoft guns will become prohibited at this point. Even though they're saying that airsoft is not banned.
They keep saying that. They keep saying it with a straight face.
Yes.
Also, they say prohibited, and they say that you can keep them, but if you ever have like the police come over to your house and they see them, they can take them.
Yep.
If they feel like it. They could also just be like, "Oh, sick. Have a good
That is
time."
part of the criminal code.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So
Because they're prohibited, they can take them whenever they want.
yes.
Mhm.
So here we go. So what should you do? This is the big one. I know a lot of people are asking. First up is do not panic.
Yep. Don't worry, guys. Do not panic.
Why didn't you say that first?
Oh, well, okay. But
Hey,
seriously,
you know
guys,
what? Sell your gear.
No,
Sell
but-
your gear.
yeah,
if you
yeah.
have nice gear, sell your gear.
Yeah,
I will.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've
I will
gone
take
through
a
this.
look at it.
We've gone through this before, right? Don't panic.
Yeah.
Our goal here is to make sure the public, the government, and its elected officials know that airsoft is a harmless sport and hobby. So we got to make sure that they know that, right? Talking to your politicians, talking to people, making sure that telling them that this is a harmless sport, right? Yes, they look real, and yes, it looks dangerous, but yeah, it's very harmless. I haven't heard anyone die from airsoft, honestly, and Yeah, our
No,
key.
but people have gotten hurt. But you know
Yes.
what? That's their own fault.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
So education is key here, showing them how diverse the community is. We're very diverse. How we all have different political backgrounds, and the health benefits from it, the mental health benefits from it as well, and how we're all just a bunch of big nerds larping in the woods, and is really not a threat to society. I mean, that's
Some of us are little nerds, but yes.
Yes.
And if you're 18 or below, best thing you can do is educate your parents
Talk to them.
and let
Yeah.
them know why airsoft is important to you and why it's important for them.
Yeah.
Just talk
Let
to
them know that all
Yeah.
of your allowance money went into this, and it's going to be a waste if it gets banned.
100%.
So-
Like,
Yeah.
dad,
Yeah.
this is a prohibited device now.
Yeah, or even talk to your friends, who aren't into airsoft, but know that, you're into these kinds of things and that they're important to you. Because the most important thing is to reach out to people, let them know that something important to you is actually getting taken, like, completely
For no
without any
reason.
reason. And that we need everyone to kind of put a light on it.
Okay. All right. So, best thing you could do, educate others, share this video. It's going to be good because they get all the information they need, especially that PowerPoint slide. It just breaks down everything and it makes sense, or it doesn't make sense what they're doing at that point, or they need to amend it. So, next up, contacting your local member of parliament. There is a lot of things to do when it comes to following legislative process. ASIC has done a wonderful job on how to write a letter to your local MP. First of all, you want to find your local MP, so I will link this in the description down below, and as well as provide to our
Also,
audience
if
here.
you're under 18, writing a letter to your MP there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to send letters, you're still a constituent or a future voter. So
Yeah.
So here is the find members of parliament. You just put in your postal code, you put in a member name or constituency, or just like, let's say, my location or something like that. Then it'll pull up information on that. British Columbia is 42 constituents, and it'll just break down who is in that area, and you could contact them if they're in your area. A lot of them here. Oh, there's Jag. All right. Moving on. So, like I said, writing to your member of parliament. If you go to the next link here, which is basically saving airsoft, there is a link on how to write. And again, nothing has changed. So really, you could just reuse a template that we use here. They talk about your attitude. This is critical, right? Put your emotions aside. This entire letter should be calm and rational and professional. Right, you're trying to get to the bottom of this, and you're also trying to figure out, like what is their party line, why is it that they're doing this? And then hopefully they respond to you, and then things like your tone and intent. You have to introduce yourself, describe your interest in the issue. Then here's a bunch of stuff that ASIC has put down here. Prompt them for answers. What do you want? Ultimately, we want airsoft to be considered safe, and just like in the Netherlands, it is it's 100% legal, like written in the law. So that's what we want to get to, but that's going to be a very, very uphill battle. This is where it all starts: is writing a letter to your MP. We need to figure out what's in their mind, and we can analyze it. All right. So
we need to AKA DDoS their emails with our emails. Let them know that we want an answer.
Let's not do that. Guys, just be calm. Write your email. Let them know your intent. Let them know that, this
fill up their mailbox.
This matters a lot to you. And yeah, that's why you're writing them. It gives an organization like ASIC a chance to see how we can counter arguments and talk points that they respond to. If you get a response, let us know, myself, because I'm dealing with ASIC, or ASIC themselves. You go to their Discord, you go to their, there's an email address that you can go to on their website, and you could tell them, this is the response I got from this MP or something like that. Or, it's crucial that we get the opposition, or not the opposition, the parties that are actually pushing this bill, so Liberal and as well as NDP. crucial to get those parties because we know the other party, conservative, is already much against it.
Yeah. Also, if you live in a place with like an independent or Green Party, something like that, reach out to them. A vote's a vote. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if they're against it or if they said they're for it. Just make
Mhm.
sure everybody knows about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Be
that is
annoying.
Yeah. Well, don't
Be
be
annoying,
annoying.
yeah.
Don't
Well,
be
I mean,
annoying.
it's gonna be
Be
annoying.
consistent.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hey, sorry, wrong word.
Consistent.
Wrong word.
Yeah. It's going.
It's
It's
more
going to
adult.
be annoying, but
All right.
exactly what Dayton said. Consistency is key,
Yeah.
guys.
So this is basically what to do at this point. There's going to be a petition that is going to be coming up from ASIC. Change.org is not a official petition, but it is a public petition that gets noticed. If you want to sign that, go ahead, but it has no sort of footing in our legislative sort of process. The
Mhm.
proper ones is the actual petition from our common, from the government, basically. That is going to be coming soon, so stay tuned with that. Make sure you tune into ASIC, or Airsoft in Canada, if I haven't
Mhm.
mentioned that. And also, if you're interested in listening in, June 5th, 6 p.m. Pacific time, is in the ASIC Facebook, there is a national update that they will be hosting in a Zoom call. Go ahead and listen to that and see what their strategy is, and as well as what they're doing in terms of what has happened. They're gonna do the same thing that we did here. I also provided them my slides, and they loved it. And yeah, they're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna explain how what Bill C-21 is. They're gonna explain what they're doing, and they're gonna explain what their future processes are. With the petition coming up as well.
Mhm.
You also have groups like BCAMF, British Columbia Airsoft Federation, British Columbia Airsoft Marksmanship Federation. They're joining the fight. You can sign up with them. And yeah, they are an official nonprofit organization that is running in BC as well. So you can register with them. Registering to a nonprofit or a federation is also good to show numbers in the community, right? A petition only shows the national number, but if we show that each province has numbers, and then we can show that to the government, that also makes it so that we're serious about this fight. Nonprofit is something that has to be registered to the government and a force to be reckoned with. At that point, they have to listen to it. Other than that, that is basically it for the breakdown of Bill C-21